Well, it might
Awesome.
just be us. Everybody else is out selling things or too old to
Yay.
use Appfiles.
Cool. Cool. Well, that's fine. We're recording it, so I'll put it up on YouTube, just like the last one. I definitely met Renee before. I don't think I've met Ashley. So hello, name's Joanna. I work here in the office with many titles. And if you ever need anything, you can holler for me or Janet. I think Janet might join us at some point. The phones are a little crazy this morning, so you can meet her as well. So if anything confuses you with Appfiles or anything to do in the office, just give us a holler. We're here for you guys. So what today is going to be is, I don't think it'll take that much time, which we all love to hear. It's going to be like an Appfiles 2.0 kind of class. And what that's going to entail is, in the first video, what we covered is how you use it, like kind of what is expected of you or needed from you for our office. Today is kind of more so how to plug it into your business, how you can utilize it more. It's not things that are required or needed for day to day, but it's just ways to make your life a little easier. So as we cover this stuff though, if there's something that you're struggling with from like the basic Appfiles class, just holler it out, super casual, and we can walk through some stuff if there's anything you guys have been struggling with as well. Before I start, is there anything that you guys like know for sure that you need help with or are struggling with? Anything that's giving you guys issues?
Yes. We would like to learn how to do templates so we can say this is our buyer file and all of our buyer forms full in and the things we like to see written into our personal contracts, just all typed in already.
Okay, yeah, so the main thing I'm covering today is templates, so that's perfect. Okay, anybody else having any struggles? We're good. Okay. Renee, are you good? You're muted.
Are we able to upload our own forms? Like I noticed the other day that the warranty form is wrong with the prices have been updated. So like I need to have that uploaded again and add the check boxes and all that. Is that something I can do myself?
I don't think so. I can always ask, like, so the way it's set up is only like the admin profiles can do that.
Okay.
But so if you have changes, just send them to us for now, but that's something I could certainly email the creators about and say, hey, is there any way we can just give like, the users this one feature for now? If that's something that you guys want.
Okay.
Okay. But for now, just send us an email. We'll certainly take care of that for you. I know there's a couple times you guys found some things that, weren't right in the forms. That's what we're here for. We can format that so that it's correct in the forms portal for you.
Perfect.
Makes it a little bit easier on you guys, hopefully.
Yeah, I think Ashley just did that for you.
Yeah. So, okay. Awesome. Let me share my screen. I've got multiple screens open, so if I'm not looking right at you, I've got several screens going for everyone today. So we will get started. And what's great about this is now that we have our own Ohio platform, you guys can just look at Ohio files instead of seeing all of our crazy Florida files. So again, as we're going through this, if there's something that like triggers your memory that you've definitely like struggled with or forgotten, just shout it out. I've got the microphone set up here in the corner. But so what I'm going to talk about first is your personal settings. If you guys haven't already done this, I know when I first got into Appfiles, when I was a new agent, I clicked around and everything, kind of figured it out myself. So some of this might be redundant, but hopefully not. If we come up here in the corner and you go to your settings, you'll have the user details, that top portion. This is what you're going to have access to. So you can change out your photo, but also the biggest thing that we like to change out is that email footer. If you email it, you'll each get your own little email here. If you email your footer to that email, it auto populates into the system. It's usually right away that it takes place. It's not emailing it to somebody and then somebody in the Appfiles database is going to put that in there for you. It's an auto-populated system. So go ahead and send over what you want for a footer into that email that it gives you. There's a couple of different settings that you can change here just for specifics. So do take a look at that. Just make sure your settings are the way you like it for communication mostly. And let me know if you have any issues with that. Our next thing, what I'm going to do is open up this test file that I've created for us. It's really funny to us here to have files that are file number 2 and file number 30, because our other dashboard, we have like file number like 62859. So it's been so much fun when I'm like, what file number is it? And Janet's like, oh, it's file number 21. I'm like, aren't there more numbers? No, not yet, but there will be. So file number 2 is our tester file that we've set up for you guys. So what I want to talk about mostly here is templates. Templates that could make your business a whole lot easier instead of having to recreate the wheel every time you get a customer. So ideally, what the basic concept of it is making a file that you would call template file. And you would put everything you need in that file that you would need for every deal. So you could make a buyer template file, a seller template file. We have people who do vacant land template files, and then new construction template files. You know, depending on what your niche is, you could have several different template files depending on, you know, how different each transaction is. So within those template files, again, you would add what paperwork you needed in there, and then what are your usual to-dos for that. You could create tasks. So let's say you get a buyer, your tasks that you could put in there are, you know, make sure you have executed contract. You could put in when the financial contingency is up, when your inspection contingency is up, when the escrow deposit is due, all these different steps of the transaction that you're constantly having to remember. This could be your to-do list. And what you would do is put it all into this template file, which I'm going to show you really quick how to do. But what we're going to go through is now every single time you have a buyer, you can simply copy these app files and everything copies over with it. So again, you're not recreating the wheel every time you have to create a file. I know a lot of us have like transaction management systems, CRMs and stuff like that. I'm not sure if you guys are using one right now. Are you? Okay, good. So this can kind of work hand in hand with that. They don't plug into each other, but how I liked to do it was I had my CRM for getting them to the deal. And then once they were done and they were in a deal, I moved that management over to Appfiles. All depends on how you want to run your business and how either simple or involved you want it to be with Appfiles. So in here, you can see I've added a few forms that you might need to use. It's just a tester. You guys know what you need in your business. You would add what you need in there. But you can also go ahead and create several tasks, which we covered in the basic app files. But what I'm going to do is call this, I'm just going to call this step 1 and call it an agent task. And you can assign it to yourself or you don't need to assign it. What you want to do is clear that date in there so that you don't have a bunch of tasks with dates attached. You know, fill out what you need, as much detail or as little detail as you might need. And then you're going to go ahead and just create the task. It's going to say, this isn't assigned. Are you sure you want to proceed? Yes. If you assign it to yourself, it's going to show up on your dashboard and you don't quite need that yet because it's just a template. You don't need it to remind you to do anything. So then you would just continue to do that. So we could create step 2, step 3, step 4, just so that we have multiple in here. I'm going to create a quick step 2. So these would be all the things that you need done in your transactions. I know you guys have awesome checklists, so you can continue to use those checklists if you wanted to, or, you know, however you want to work your business. Every single person is different. That's why we don't create these for you guys, because everybody runs their business differently and what they need to do. So some people, or I should say some agents, have files that look like this. They have a lot of forms in there and they have like 50 tasks in there. So you'll see it runs all the way down to the bottom. We're going to keep this simple just for our example. So once you have your template set up the way you want it, it has every task you might need, every reminder you might need, every form that you need, whether it's your buyer template, your seller template. What you do every time you have a new buyer is you're going to come over to the side here. I have to move your pretty little faces on my Zoom screen. Just 1 second. Okay, so you're going to come over to the side here and you're going to click copy this app file. So if you guys haven't done this yet, it's actually one of my favorite features. You can copy it into a new app file, which means it's going to make a completely new file for you, or you can copy it into an existing file, which means if you already have one, it's just going to copy that and plug it right into the file you already have. So let's say that this is our buyer template file. What we would do is we'd get a new buyer. And so for example's sake, we'll say her name is Jane Doe. So we're going to name our new file Jane Doe buyer. And you're not going to have this little account button here. It's because I have multiple accounts. You guys just have one, so it shouldn't ask you that. So don't let that get in your way. So you'll name your new file and you'll select what file type it is. So this would be a buyer file. It's going to ask you the same stuff when you create an app file typically. So what's the MLS number? It's going to copy the notes over. It's going to show the users, and if you want to add any users, you can certainly do that. Almost the same exact thing as setting up a new app file, just a different look. So you'll click next, but make sure that you do everything that you need to do because it won't let you go past go. Then it'll ask you for your required files. I'm just going to put some digits in there. Okay. Click next. So this is the great part. It asks you what you want copied over. So it's going to ask you, do you want all of your paperwork that you have in this file copied over? Do you want all of the tasks copied over? And do you want the info section copied over? So you can select and deselect those options, which is great. Typically, if you have a template file, you're going to want everything copied over. But if you ever do this with a file that's like not a template, and for whatever reason you decide to make a copy of a file, if you have activity in that file, such as status changes or emails or things like that, it'll also ask you if you want to copy those over. So typically, like if you have a file that really is just perfectly organized and has everything you need in it, and you wanted to copy it, but like you didn't want all of the transaction details from 123 Main Street to come over to your new property, you could deselect those items. Is anybody confused so far? No, everyone looks good. Okay, I'm getting lots of head nods. Good. So then you'll just create app file and it'll create a new file for you. If we go back and you click copy into an existing file, it's simply going to ask you what file you want it copied into. So you start typing, it pulls up the list of your files, you select which one it is. Same process, we click next, and it'll ask us what we want copied over. So it's the same process, you're just not creating a new file. So what I can do is move your faces again. And I'm going to take you guys over to our Florida platform really quick and just show you some of the template files some of our agents have created so that you kind of get a bigger idea of what it will look like. Okay, so let's see if this is a good one. Probably should have already had one pulled up. So let's see where Belkis's is. Nope. You can see everybody's started template files. All right, I know Marlissa's is always really good. So this is one of the good ones. So here's Marlissa's template. You can see she's got lots of forms in there, but she's a really big to-do task person. So she's got lots of tasks in here. What she does that's really smart is your tasks will show up based on like when you created them in order, and since you don't have dates set to them, they kind of fall in alphabetical order at that point. So it'll be based on your dates. If there's no dates attached, it'll be based on alphabetical order. So what I've seen her do in a lot of files is she labels her tasks 1, 2, 3, 4, or she sections them out into like pending, contingent, and closed. Or I've seen some of her files say A for active. So those are some different creative things that you can do in creating your tasks so that they line up the way that you want. So what you would do is, let's say we copied this file over, right? And this is now our Jane Doe file. What you could do is come through once you're under contract and you can edit each of these tasks and attach dates to them now. So you know all the things that you need to do because you're not recreating the wheel, you're not forgetting about escrow, you're not forgetting about financing contingencies or anything like that. Just go in here, open your contract, plug in the dates for what you need, and now you've got everything will show up on your main dashboard for your deals of what you need. So once you assign them to yourself, just wants to click on your faces. Once you assign them to yourselves and you put a date to them, you'll see them on your main dashboard, which is great. So it'll stay off of your dashboard and out of your way until you're under contract with anything. Anybody confused about templates?
No, but how do you start it again? Because I took a quick call.
You're fine. So what you'll want to do is create a new app file, just like
Okay.
anything else. I don't really even think I said that part. So create a new app
Okay.
file, call it template, whatever you want to call it, template buyer, template seller, template new construction.
Got it.
Add everything in there that you want, create your tasks that you want, just don't assign them to yourselves, and clear the date out of it so that it doesn't bug you. And then you'll be good to go. And that's when you just use the copy this app file button.
Okay, and on those that I create in those templates, if I always like put the same thing for earnest money, or always do, I can fill that all in those pages and save it, and that's what we'll flip over each time, correct?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
And what's great about the templates is you'll always have that blank template file. The things that should only be getting changed are the files that you're using. So the copies essentially that you're making. So anytime you run into a new problem or things change, because we all know that that never happens in real estate, you can edit your template files. So let's say you have a deal, and I'm using very like basic examples. Obviously we would never forget escrow, but let's say you do a deal and you forget escrow and you're like, crap, I really need to remember that next time. Go into your template file, add that task in, and then from then forth, you'll never forget it again. The forms change, you just change out the form in your template file. But as things change, or as you realize, there are new things you need to remember, the template file is constantly changing and always growing. That's how you see like Melissa's example. Hers started with, your basic like 6 steps from the contract. But as she continued to work and continued to like run into issues, she plugged that into her template file, and it became this beautiful piece of art for, us real estate nerds, where it's got everything she'll ever need in it. So that's the whole concept behind templates, making your life a little easier. Any questions on that?
Yeah, is there any way to make the documents autofill? Like we used to have that in our old program, like, where it says seller, it would autofill in the seller or the address or their phone number.
It does, Renee.
Yeah.
It does.
Yes. Yeah. So let's see if I can open that. I'm sorry, I have to keep moving your faces around. Let's open our test file. So when you create your file, if you use this file information button, which I know wasn't there when we first launched Ohio, it is there now. If you fill out the information in buyer information or transaction information, it will populate into your forms.
And we've been using the transaction information. If you fill that out, it does populate into the forms.
Yeah. So whenever you are in a form, if you click import values, I don't have anything filled out in here, but you would import from info fields. So if you click import from a form, let's say you wrote a contract and then they butchered the contract so much you have to rewrite it, you could import stuff, from the previous contract that you wrote if the forms match up. But most of the time what we like to use is the import from info field. Does that help?
That's super helpful. Yeah, we've been using that a lot. It's very, very helpful.
Yeah. The one thing that's a little silly is this section here does not auto-populate anything in the pink box or salmon box or orange box, depending on who you ask. So that one, that is just like basic info. It doesn't populate anything, but your file information on the side will populate stuff. What is interesting, since this is Appfiles 2.0, a little tidbit about this box, anything you put in that colored box will be searchable fields. So when you are on your main Appfiles dashboard and you go to search and pull up a file, anything that is in the title of the name or in that pink box will be searchable. If you have like a form or if it's in file information, they don't pull for the searchable fields. If that makes sense. It's
Yeah,
weird.
good to know.
It's weird. So the other thing I want to cover is the create a document pack. If you guys haven't done that yet, it is a great way to, you know, when we go to send over offers, we typically have our client's financial information. We've got the contract, we've got addendums and all kinds of stuff. So this allows you to create a beautiful little package, I like to say. So we will call this the test pack. And you can write in here like who it's prepared by if you wanted to. You guys have a team, so that might be a better feature for you. I'm not sure how you guys like to do it. Nobody usually uses that here. And you can add little notes. This will go onto your cover page. And I will type notes so that when it populates, we can see where it populates. If you click next, you can decide what forms you want to add. I'm going to go ahead and just add everything for this example, but you would put it in order of where you wanted it. So you could do the offer, the financial information, the addendum, everything that you might need for presenting your offers. You can click next. You can add a header if you would like, and you can also add a footer. And I'm just typing these in here so that we can see where it populates. And then once it's done, it's just going to save into your app file based on what you labeled it. So it takes a quick second, depending on how many forms you might have.
I seriously love Appfiles. It is so amazing.
Yay! I love to hear that. Well, and then
We love it.
you got to meet all of the great people at the
I did.
convention.
Yeah, I did. Oh, this is cute.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's not beautiful, but it is very simple and it's business. It's just the necessities of what we need. So, oh gosh, I didn't do a capital T. That's really bothering me. So we have test pack. That is what we labeled it. It shows who it's prepared by. The notes section would go here if you typed any notes. What's great is it puts page numbers on everything and it tells them what page they can find stuff. So that way, when they're going through your offer, I mean, I've had deals where it's just like addendum and addendum and addendum, and it's forever long and you're flipping through and you trying to present it to your seller and you can't find the form you're looking for. This just makes it a lot easier. So you can see the page numbers go here, and then each form has the header and the footer put on that. So what that would do was you could call it like Jane Doe offer. That way it all sticks together. It just is a much more professional look if you have a lot of forms going on. So that is a feature for every app file for you guys to use. And you'll see right below it is merge paperwork. The difference between the two is creating a document pack gives you all of those features. You can create, you've got the cover page, the headers, the footers, the page numbers. If you merge paperwork, it's just going to take those PDFs and push them together and make one form. So super simple if you need that. But if you're looking to do some type of a presentation, the document package is best. Any questions on the document packs?
Yeah, so could we create that also for a seller, like when we need their signatures? And so they could jump to page 6 and fill out the property disclosures, or jump to page 2 and sign the listing agreement? Or is it only for presentation?
You'll want to merge paperwork if you want to send it for signature. If you create a document pack, it flattens it and gets rid of those fields. Yep.
Okay.
So, and what's nice is, let me see if I can do this really quick.
But we could do that because we have a lot of times we have attorneys that want to preview the paperwork. So it would be like, here's your paperwork to preview, and it would be a nice cover letter.
Yeah. Good point, Crystal.
So
that's how we could use it for the seller side.
Yeah.
So I merged everything, or I merged 3 forms, and you can see it shows up here. It just labels it whatever the first form of the first form name is, but you can change that with the little blue pencil button. So when you merge it, it keeps all of the little fields and you can request the signature. But what's great is when you go to split the forms, it shows up here. Once they're done signing, you can actually easily split them back out just as easily as you merged them.
Yeah, I find that so easy to use. It's really, that part, merging and unmerging or splitting them up is really comfortable.
Yeah, because when you're sending something to a seller, Renee, which is like a great example, and you're like, you've got the contract and the
Right.
disclosure and this and that, and you're sending them all these things. A lot of times they get so many emails, they like miss certain forms, and it's always the most important thing that you need. So definitely merge them all together, and you can fill them out first if you want, and then merge them together, send out one signature request, and then split the forms so that it's nice and organized in your app file for you to view.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions about that part?
Oh, I have a list of questions, but I'll bring them up at the end.
Okay.
They keep coming up and I'm like, oh, that's a good one.
Okay, so the other thing, which is a quick feature, is linking app files. You'll see that button is here on the side. What that is great for is, if you've got Jane Doe, she's selling her house and then she's buying another house, you can link those files together so that there's easy access for them. So what that would look like is pulling up the file that you want to link it to. We'll create the link for test buyer, and you can create multiple links. You can add every file imaginable in here if you wanted to. And what that does is creates a little preview here on the side for you. So if I'm working on, Jane Doe's listing, and then I need to hop over to her purchase, you can just easily click on it and it opens up that other file. It just gives you a nice little preview of stuff that's linked here. So if you have somebody who's buying and selling multiple properties, or if you like have a listing and you start creating multiple buyer files or anything like that, a nice easy link makes it easy to switch from file to file.
That's amazing. So if we have an investor,
Yes.
we can merge all their files. We were putting them all together and like labeling like each house and then switching over the file information for the transaction information. So this is much better.
Yeah. So you can link your files. If you've got multiple, it'll just line them up there for you on the side with a nice little preview of what is in that pink box.
Excellent. Ashley, did you hear this?
Yes, and my question is, does that linked info on the side, is that something that you could use to flow into a form? Like when, we use the transaction info to fill the form out, or is that just for informational purposes?
Yeah, that's just for informational purposes. It won't copy over. I mean, you could copy this app file and then it would show in that new file and then you could link them together, but it's not going to pull anything into the linked file.
Okay.
But
that's still okay to have separate files, separate transactions for the investor, but like have a way that they're all on one page too. We can do that. I really like that a lot. Or we've had builders in the past who have built several spec homes with us. They have all these different homes, different addresses. We could link them. So that's super. We could definitely use that feature.
Yeah. Awesome. Any other questions on the linked files? No. Okay. So the other quick thing I wanted to show you guys is something that I had covered with Crystal on the phone the other day. If you guys go into a form, this one's already formatted because it came from us, but a lot of the times, maybe we get an offer from another customer and, we have to format it ourselves. How comfortable are you guys from the first video with using this edit button and formatting? Everybody knows how to place signatures and, okay, so no questions on that.
Yep.
The one little thing I want to show you that I showed Crystal the other day is if you put a text box on here, you might have already covered this with everybody.
No, just with Ashley. Everybody else is going to go, wow, that's amazing.
So typically when we send out a signature request, the first page it'll ask you is, okay, what do you want them to sign? You got your little check boxes. And then the second page, sometimes we'll say, what do you want them to fill out? Like on your seller's disclosure, you want them to fill that out because we can't fill that out. There is a very complicated way to make it available to the customer. So you can see that this is in blue, which means that you have to fill it out. If I were to send a signature request, this would not be accessible by the customer. Any text field that we do add onto our page, as you can see here, it's just automatically blue. It's this blank little thing. If we send a signature request, it's just going to show as white space to the customer. What you want to do is click on it so that it turns orange. Click View Element Properties. I know this is complicated. Where you can, it takes you back to when you created it, right? You can change the alignment, the font size, bold it if you needed to, but this little tiny blue button that they hit up here in the corner for advanced options opens this little checkbox that says add to client editable fields when requesting signatures. So if you have something that you need your customer to fill out, make sure that this is selected so that they can have that option to edit it when it's sent to them. And you can see that it is now purple instead of blue. Yes, Crystal.
Great example for Christine and Renee is if we were sending this, the seller filled out their disclosures and 10 days into the listing, they had a flood and they need to add or update theirs. You will throw this text box on and send it to them to fill out and they won't be able to fill it out. Nothing happens. So that's how you can add that advanced field and require them to fill out that box. To give you an example of how that would commonly come up is they're updating a text box on disclosures or something they need to fill in. Or sometimes we get stuff from title companies. Gosh, I wish title companies would get with it already. They send everybody a flat PDF and they're like, can you fill this out? And they're like, I don't know how, I don't know in a printer. What do you mean? Can't you send it to me digitally? If we're ever assisting with them and throwing those text boxes on there, you have to put that advanced check in so that they can fill it out.
Yeah, it's quite annoying. But yeah, so just remember if it's blue, that's like agent only. And if it's purple, then you'll be able to, it'll give you a little checkbox where you can let it be client editable. So
it was amazing. Changed our world that day.
Just a little tiny button that could change your future. And then the last thing I just want to let you guys know is, depending on how much you want to use this for your business, we touched on the calendar before in the basic Appfiles. I'm going to do the monthly view here. But if you guys are finding that you need additional calendar types or anything like that, just let us know. Like if you wanted to, I don't know, set up like a follow-up calendar or whatever your imagination can come up with. If there is something that you guys are needing, we can add it in here. Here in Florida, a lot of our agents have like their own personal calendars put in there. So we'll have files or we'll have calendar types that are like Crystal Keck's calendar and like she's the only one that has access to it. We can do things like that. So that's on the back end. So I can certainly create any kind of calendar types that you guys need and give access to whoever needs to have access to them. Just a thought.
It is a huge question. That was one of the things on my question. How do we access this calendar? Because it tells us we have no access. I didn't know how to there's been a few times I'm like, oh, let me throw the appraisal appointment on. And then I'm like, oh, I guess I can't do that. So
it doesn't
just
let
putting it
you
in the notes. Yeah.
Okay, so what I need to do is go on the back end and give you authorization. That might just not have been an automatic setup feature. So
Okay.
I will go on the back end and give you authorization and I'll shoot you a text message and we can make sure it works.
Okay, very good. Yeah, because we can't add anything. So I'm like, well,
Good
that's
to
nice
know.
that there's a calendar, but nothing happens with the calendar.
Good to
I
know.
don't think I have access to one either, to the calendar either,
Yeah, none of
Okay.
us have
Florida.
access to the calendar.
In Florida. Oh,
for Florida and Ohio.
okay, great to know.
Yeah,
So
because
I
I
will
think
go.
some of the
I will
dates
go-
changed and then I think we're not able to change them. So it shows like overdue.
Yeah.
Or like the Overbrook deal that didn't go through, those dates were still on the calendar and I couldn't get them off.
You could,
But,
okay, so
you know,
you
the-
couldn't change like the closing dates and stuff like that.
Right.
Okay. All right. So I just need to go on the back end and give you guys access.
Super. That answers a big question. Thank you.
No problem. And, if you guys run into anything and you're like, oh, I wish I could do this, or I wonder, it doesn't, just shoot us an email because we'll let you know if it's a capability or not. With Ohio, we built the entire platform from scratch for the first time, which was super exciting for my nerdy self, but you don't know what you don't know. So for some features that like we were getting in Florida, because it was, they created it completely for us. I didn't realize like how many features could be changed on the back end until we created Ohio. So it's kind of
Cool.
like my little baby. But that is like a lot of the additional features that I wanted to talk to you guys about. So what questions do you have or what features might you be struggling with?
Mine are all written down. So if somebody's dying to ask, go for it. Otherwise, I'll get started. Just kind of raise your hand if you're dying to ask.
I just have one.
Okay.
My only question is when we're sending the signature request, is there a like it's automatic. Is there a template? Can we change what's in there? Like say like it's from the core team or like, can we change that?
Yeah, so, okay, let's open up a file for an example. Or where's my test file? Hello. All right, so if you're going to send a signature request, or we're discussing like this little message right
Yes.
here.
Mhm.
Okay, so I had asked Appfiles before and she was looking into it and she actually did not get back to me. So I am going to ask her again because it's not something that we have readily available in our features. I do know some of our agents, what they do is they have it like saved in a Word doc and they copy paste it every time, but you have to be careful because of like where that link part is, like you can't touch that, otherwise it doesn't put the link in there. But I will ask them again if there is a way for us to change that. What it does do is it puts your signature at the bottom, which you can edit your signature, but all of this verbiage is pretty templated. So I am going to ask them again because they've actually been doing a lot of updates to the system, and we love to always kind of send them, they don't have to do our job day to day, they're just doing the technical work day to day, so they don't know what they don't know again. So whatever we think might make our lives easier, they might not have thought of. So we always love to send them suggestions as well. So I'll follow up with her for that. The point that I do want to make that I don't know if we covered this before in the first one. Let me send myself a signature request really quick so I can show you. Just send that to myself. So when you do send the signature request, down here at the bottom, I'm pretty sure we had covered it. You get to see this whole reporting thing. That link is because we're kind of running into this issue more and more. And I know Appfiles is working on it as far as like Yahoo does not like Appfiles. If somebody has a Yahoo email address, it will not go through it. It gets blocked a lot. Using that link at the bottom is the same thing as sending them the link from Appfiles. So you can copy paste that and send it from your own personal email so that it'll go through. So if you guys run into any issues with that, but it's also just a point of, you can use those links to format your own kind of email if you wanted for the time being as well.
And we've been doing that. Actually, I picked it up from Renee and she might have picked it up from your original video, but she'll send it out for signature and then she'll do a personal email. It's a little extra work, but I started doing it too. When you're doing it for somebody else on the team, it's like, hey, by the way, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, I sent this over to you sign, but if you would like to just sign here, here's why we sent this, because we couldn't edit that other email. Also there's a typo in that that email, so it drives me crazy, so I have to fix it every single time.
Stop it. Hold on one second. So, which is hilarious because Janet is a grammar Nazi and
Well, it's not a grammar, it's a formatting. So see the very last sentence? It should either be spaced down one more or like it's not.
Yeah, I don't like the way the sentence is attached there at the bottom. Okay.
Yeah, it makes me crazy. I will be notified and it's like, can I just move that down? Like, it's
Do you
wrong.
not sleep at night?
Yes. But it's kind of those little things that we notice.
Yeah, no, it's those little things that, other people are going to notice too.
They do. Yeah, we want to be, rise above everybody else. We want to be better than everybody.
Absolutely. Okay, so I will follow up with Appfiles for changing that email. And if they say no, which I doubt because they're always accommodating, if they say no, then I'll say, okay, at least fix your template.
Perfect. I have a comment and it may not be a question or maybe it is. I noticed when I first started using Appfiles, it did something and it looks like it recently changed. I don't know if it's a user thing or maybe my account in Florida is different than my account in Ohio. And I haven't had time to play with it, but when I go to merge files all together for someone to sign, it was not allowing me to move them in the order I wanted them to be signed. They would go alphabetical in Florida. So what I started doing is labeling them as 1, 2, 3, 4, the forms and calling them that. So that they would go in that order. But in Ohio, I can merge them in whatever order I decide to do that in.
Yeah, so when we click merge, you do this and then you move them around, right?
Okay, yeah.
But
It wasn't letting me
Florida,
do
it
that in
doesn't.
Florida.
Oh, I've moved it.
So maybe it's a new feature now, but it wasn't
I
letting me
think
do that
so
before.
because it used to just show up as like a list instead of side by side. It was like vertical instead.
Okay,
And they did recently like update that because I mentioned that to Janet. So that is a newer feature. But if you see it's not
Okay.
showing up on something, just let me know.
no, it's working now. And I was like, maybe, I don't know if that's just something that changed, but it does, you can put them in whatever order you want. Cause in Ohio, we are required for certain forms to be signed in a certain order.
Gotcha.
So
Ohio's
that's
so
nice.
extra.
I know. We're crazy. We really are. I have a question about a feature that it probably doesn't do, and it's going to come off sounding badly, but I don't mean it to sound badly. Our other transaction electronic signing company allowed us the opportunity to cover or so-called white out sections. And sometimes that comes up where I
Like
need to
their
do that.
names.
Sometimes, yes, like I just did an escalation clause where I had to send the first page of the contract over because it escalated and I just wanted to black out their names on it. You know, I wish there was a way, and again, I know I don't want to use the word white out in contracts because you don't really want to
Yeah.
white things out, but I
Yeah.
really
just-
do want to like override and white it out. And I don't want to have to download it out of Appfiles, move it somewhere else. But if I
Yeah.
put a text box, it literally just types right over it and it's unlegible.
Yeah, because I don't know, we had talked about this before, because it's been coming up lately with, you know, ethics and stuff like that, and discrimination and names. It just is what it is. For, you know, if people kind of unknowingly discriminate by names. So there is the strike through, and I've done that before with putting a crap ton of strike throughs through it after it's done and signed, and then removing it off afterwards. That's a lot of work. Because in Florida, I don't think we're allowed to. So Appfiles is made from Florida, but that could always be something I could ask them about for a feature for future use.
Yeah, it's a risky thing as a broker. I don't totally encourage it, but I do know that there's circumstances where we're like, oh, let me just cover that same box up and let you type on it again.
Yeah.
I can't cover it. It still shows it. They just type on it instead of kind of whiting out that spot and letting them correct it.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's like the title company, you know, like, okay, instead of crossing out everything, let's just white it out, write the right title company and have everybody initial that
Right.
spot. It's just cleaner and clearer. Sometimes there's not a lot of room for all the messiness.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
Yeah,
just
so
wasn't
it
sure, maybe I
doesn't
was
have that
missing a feature. Okay.
Yeah, so it doesn't have that feature, but we can always ask.
Yeah, it's one of those ones I'm a little leery about, but I know my team is probably like, I wish I could cover that up. What is that doing there?
Yeah.
Excellent. Those were my questions. Anybody else have any?
Nope. Probably when we try to execute something and do it, but
Possibly.
Yeah.
I will put together our templates for our team. And in that process, I'm sure I'm going to come up with forms that we are like, oh,
for sure.
super.
I have
Well,
a
that's all
question for
good.
Joanna.
Yes.
Have you seen anything, because you really in Florida are the one closing out our files, our transactions. So is there anything that you need from us that we are not doing, that we need to be doing differently?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
We're still kind of like, you know, figuring it out. And we have our checklists here for closing files out in Florida, but obviously stuff in Ohio is different. So far, so good. I mean, we're just making sure that everything gets scanned in and then we organize it out and we lock everything and we close it out. So as we start getting like more involved, Janet might send some questions because she's not licensed here either, but she knows Appfiles in and out. So I'm trying to tell her to be more comfortable and asking you questions of like, hey, should we be asking you for this? Are we supposed to have this? So that we can kind of start to formulate what should be expected and not expected. So you can just, you know, write her back on tasks and check it off. She's trying to, right now she's just like watching and I'm like, just ask them.
For sure. She can ask us anytime. I think at least I thought I did. I gave her a list of what she is we are required to have for a buyer file and a seller file. So she knows at least what we have to have at a minimum.
Okay, perfect.
I have one question. It has nothing to do exactly with Appfiles, but I just want to know, so I know. So when we are sending out the transaction brokerage, like our duties and responsibilities to our customers, are we supposed to just sign that, or are they supposed to sign it, but acknowledging that you read it to them? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's a great question because I see that it says the broker and agent to sign, and I always change it to the client to acknowledge that they know what our duties are.
That's
Is
what I
that a
thought.
Florida form or an Ohio form?
It's a Florida form,
Florida.
the transaction broker, an announcement or whatever it is that says like we're a transaction broker. Why would we sign knowing that we know that with what our duties are?
That does seem silly. So that comes from Florida, but I'll look at it.
Yeah.
I mean, in Florida, we're already automatically transaction.
Right. But there's a form in there and I thought we were supposed to present it to each customer, like when you're doing the consultation type of thing. And you're
We
like,
do.
like
Yeah.
that's
You do,
what Crystal and I've been doing that. So we've been sending it. And so like when we are going over the, just beginning things like this is what my duties are as an agent to you and my responsibilities. And then, you proceed into other questions or whatever, like some more formal consultation. But in the beginning, I was asking them to sign it, like as a part of their request and have them, and like I was editing it, so they were signing it. But then it keeps asking for the broker and agent, and I was just confused. Or is it supposed to be say broker and agent, and why are we changing it then? Like, I guess I'm confused. I don't know what I'm
That's a
doing.
great question, Christina. We are changing it because I don't see why myself as the agent and JJ would sign that we know what a transaction broker is and what our duties were for the client. So we have been changing it, Joanna, and have each one of our people here, our customers here, sign that they know what our duties are, because it brings that good conversation. Like, I'm going to be fair to you and honest to you, and I'm going to do all these things for you. And so why would I sign it saying that I know that, unless that's like a promise to them?
That just seems silly though. I will look at that. I'm going to make sure, see if it's something that's from Florida Realtors feed, or if it's on our side where we can just change it up, and we'll get that fixed, because that does seem very silly.
Yeah, let me
Good
know, 'cause
question.
I'm just confused at that being a new agent, I guess. And I would think that would them signing it would just be extra legal protection that they know our duties to that. I don't know.
No, that's
Especially because we have so many
absolutely.
people from other states. They don't understand our duties are different here.
Yeah, no, you're on the right track 100%.
Actually, that leads me to another question for Joanna. In
Yes.
Ohio, we are required to give somebody a consumer guide about our relationships, right?
Yes.
So when we have people sign things, that particular signature box, I think because that's the way it's written on the form, when we go to send somebody something, sometimes everything gets signed but that form. And the reason for it is we'll check all the boxes that will say buyer one or seller one.
Yeah.
But that particular form is labeled consumer one.
I think we changed that. Ashley, is that the one you
Okay.
asked me to change before? Yeah.
Oh, maybe
I will
Ashley
double
already
check
did.
it.
Okay, perfect.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was
And yeah,
Good job, Ashley.
she's on it. Crap. I wanted to show you guys while I have you really quick also. Let me share my screen really quick again. If you come into, let me find something that you guys have that's already signed. This is a file that's closed, so there should be signed stuff in here.
That's not closed.
But it's
No, it's not?
Hopefully, but it's got signed. Everything in the general paperwork should be signed. Like that consumer guide to agency relationships. See how it says one? That's how we were trying to
Yes.
merge them because they weren't going in an order. Now they are.
Okay, so I do want to point out for Appfiles 2.0 that you can do a signature verification and the certificate of authenticity. I don't know if you guys have used that button here yet. If you click that, it will create a whole, I don't want to do it and mess up your app file. If you do that, what it will do is create a whole nother PDF, which will have that form attached to it. And then it'll give you a rundown, date, time, address, and it'll give you an IP address, which is great because there are websites such as, I think it's ipaddresslookup.com. If you just Google IP address lookup, There are free websites where you take that, you copy paste it, and it gives you all of the information. I can actually show you guys what one looks like really quick. If you haven't used this feature yet, we're using it a lot lately, especially because we just took a class about foreign investors or scam artists, figuring out the difference. And let's see if I can find the example. This is my sister's property, so I used I used her as a guinea pig. And I might have deleted it. Yeah, I might have deleted it. But what it does is it gives you a whole printout of their IP address and all their stuff. When you look up that IP address, oh, here we go. When you look up that IP address, it tells you like where they are when they signed it, what service they use. So my sister signed it on her phone and it said Verizon Wireless database or something like that. But the IP address gives you so much information about that seller. So it can help you, not only verify that somebody actually signed it if they decide to pull the I never signed that card, but it also can help you if you're worried about somebody not being legit. So if you come to the back, it has the entire verification. So you get an IP address for every single initial, every single signature. It tells you who signed it, from what email, the date, the time. And like I said, right there is that IP address. So you use that little guy to look up in an IP address lookup site, and you'll get all the information about them. We had recently, one of our gals was worried that somebody wasn't real, and she used this to look it up, and they were signing like over in the African continent. I think it was Nigeria, doesn't matter where it was, but it was not in Virginia where he said he was. So that ended up being a scam. We have also had in the past some crazy people that said, I never signed that contract. And it's like day of closing, they're trying to figure out how to back out. And they were saying that they never saw, certain forms in their life. So we were able to use this, as a legal piece to say, yes, you did. Here's what you did. This is your IP address and things like that. So, sorry, I was getting a call. So that's just another little feature there for you guys to use.
Awesome. I don't know if you girls saw on that same page too, that you can actually remove signatures when somebody signs something too. I did that this week for Jonathan. He had a whole contract and then they made so many changes in our counters back and forth that I just rewrote a clean contract. Instead of redoing it, I just went to the actions tab and I removed all the signatures. And I changed all the changes and had to re-sign everything.
There we go. Yeah, so there's a lot of different options in here for you
So yeah,
guys.
you can do that too.
All right, anything else? Any other questions? I got you guys for a whole hour. Sorry.
Yeah, this is great. No, we really love it and want to utilize all the tools available to us to make business seamless and fast for us.
Absolutely.
I just
Thank you,
noticed,
Joanna. Go ahead.
I just noticed like under my pictures, it says your actions, and then it says one of the things is make an update. What do you use that for?
That would be, so like that's in each app file as well. And what that is kind of like note taking is how I like to refer to it as. So you can make an update that is just like a general update from you, or you can make an update in each app file. And when you make an update, it's basically like typing a note and you can put people on notice. So like if, for example, in this file, if it was like, hey, this isn't closing on time anymore, it's now going to close on X and X date, extension is in the app file, you could type that out in there and then you can notify me and Janet. There's lots of different, yeah, it's great. So it'll send us a little email and a notification so that we can look at it. It's like a task without having to be checked off. And then it forever stays in that activity. So it's a great way to put notes in the file that you want to, especially when we start getting into like legal issues. We really use the update section for like every phone call that we have, or different examples like that. So it's a way to take notes and notify people.
Oh, I really love that. That's great for notes. Sometimes you do want to say like, advise this person on this date to have a home inspection. They were adamant they didn't want to have one. So just making a note in the file. And that we can notify the important players if they need to see the note.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I
Yep,
like that.
and then you'll
Thank
be
you.
able to, just like with the tasks, you can comment in on that, so you can start like a whole thread of conversation.
Cool. I like it. Yeah, give it a shot, Renee. Throw a note in there into Anita's and just see how that looks. You can
Okay.
share the, share it with me so I can see or whatever. But yeah, that's pretty cool. I like that. Good call. Good question. Awesome, ladies. I think that serves us for our time today. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, especially to Joanna for showing
Yeah.
us. This is great.
No problem. And just like I said, give us a holler at the office if you run into anything or if you need anything.
Awesome.
Super.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, ladies.
Bye.
Bye.